In our last section, I talked about how the need to control, measure, and optimize had somewhat taken over our lives, ignoring our human needs, or at least not putting them first. And I want to give you some context on how I believe this happened. And then we're going to go way back. We're going to go back to the shift from the agricultural age of society, when we were largely a farming community, into the industrial age model of work. When we made that shift from farm to factory, it was a significant difference in the way that we lived our lives. So in the agricultural age, actually farms were created so we would have a shared food source, so we could work better together in how we shared our resources. And by nature, working together satisfies some of our human needs to be social. Remember, personal, emotional, and social. And so in the farming community, everybody knew their part in how we needed to work together. And the name of the game then was survival. Everybody had different parts of the community that they were responsible for. Some grew crops, some made clothes, some diagnosed medical needs, grew herbs for treatment. Everybody had their thing, and you knew how your thing mattered to the community, to the whole. That, by nature, satisfies our human needs to be personal. We know how our unique contribution matters. Emotional, we care about it. In that age, we were trying to survive together. And social, how can we put these pieces of the puzzle together so that we can all survive and we can do it more effectively? We were outside in nature, we were helping each other, supporting one another. And when we made the shift to the industrial age, here's what happened. So a group of industrialists came along and said, hey, we've got an idea. We know how you can make more money and not have so much uncertainty in your lives, because in the farming community, you were at the mercy of weather and lots of things that you didn't have control over. And so there was a lot of uncertainty involved in the agricultural age. Let me also say that required us to live on more faith, which was a good thing too. But in the industrial age, the industrialists said, come on in out of the weather, come into the factory. We have jobs for you, and we're going to pay you every single week. You're not going to have to worry about all those things that you worried about before. You're going to have this reliability in your work and your pay. And we know it's going to have a huge benefit to the way that we live and work. People said, sure, sounds great. And it was this mass shift of people moving from the farm to the factory, now gathering in cities, and just changed completely the way that we work. Not so much being outside, not so much relying on our faith, and definitely not so much in the feeling of relying on each other. Because when you came in to work in the factory, you could do your part of the work and really not have any idea how it impacted the greater good, the whole of it, of even what that business was meant to do. You lost some human connection. And the consequences when you didn't show up in the factory were you didn't get paid. The consequences when you didn't show up in the agricultural age, people suffered, maybe even died. So there was a complete shift away from really meeting our fundamental human needs. We didn't recognize it at the time, and it did have a significant economic uptick for everyone in the way that the society worked. But the goal of a factory is to separate everything out into pieces and parts so that you can better control, measure, and optimize. And so our life, work, even our education system has now been built on this industrial model of life, work. And we didn't go back and pick up our human needs. We sort of left them behind on the farm, believing that success was all about control, measure, and optimize. And every time there was an advancement in our society, we got electricity all the time. Great. Now we don't have to stop working at night. We can go a third shift. Forget about those circadian rhythms that help regulate our sleep. It's going to be fine. We can make more money. Technology. Now we can work from anywhere. But we really didn't take advantage of it in a way to meet our human needs. Now we just take our laptop to the beach on spring break. Every time there was an advancement that was meant to improve our quality of life, we used it to improve business, but not necessarily our quality of life. And our education system, built on this industrial age model, shifted us from everyone of all ages in a one room schoolhouse sharing and teaching one another and working together in ways that would benefit the community into separate everything out into grades and pieces and parts so that can be controlled, measured, and optimized in a very individual way. Grades, GPA, this individual measurement of our success violated a lot of our personal, emotional, social needs. In school, helping is cheating. In school, your uniqueness is often a disruption or a frustration for whomever is trying to teach the class. And nobody really asks you how you feel. They just want to know what you've achieved. And so this achievement bias really has been in play for decades. And I wanted you to know that context because it runs so deep in our patterns of what success is that in order to take care of our human needs first, we're going to have to challenge a lot of what we've been taught about what success really is. Because the achievement-based culture doesn't allow us to renew our human needs, which is our energy source. And that's why we get depleted. That's why we get burnout. And so we need to challenge what we've been told success really is. And again, I'm not saying we're not going to take care of those business needs, but we're going to take care of us first.